welcome to the Comic Binge. I am your host, Paul Herman, and today we will be we'll be continuing our 52 Binge episode or series, you could say. I'm super excited. So if you haven't already, please like the video, subscribe to us here. Super excited to talk about a great series that we talked about last time. And I'm looking forward because right now, this is, to me, it just continues what we had before, which was great, solid storytelling, great characters, and yeah, I'm ready to get into it. But a little bit of house cleaning before I get in here. I'm going to throw you guys out here for 1 second here. Really quickly. Yeah, so thank you for joining us. I'll be joined here by Chris and Nico, but really quick, next week there'll be no binge. It'll just be a break because I'll be moving this weekend. So I'm hoping to be in the new studio, you could say, quote unquote, next week. But either way, no episode next week. And then after that, we've got the Spider-Man Council, which I'll just tell you all right now. It's going to have a little bit of an Across the Spider-Verse, what do you want to say, feel or influence, if you will. So you want to miss that. But today, I'm excited to talk about the 52 or continue our 52 binge, obviously with my co-host, Chris Clow. Hi, Chris.
Oh, sorry. I was still muted. Hey, how's it going?
How dare you? How dare you?
I know.
How you doing?
I'm all right. How are you, my friend?
Your hair looks great, by the way. That's why you say that.
Thanks,
your hair
man.
looks fantastic.
Yeah.
I love your hair.
I don't do much to it. So.
You know what? You could do the Morrissey pompadour.
Oh, no, I couldn't pull that off.
No, you could, my friend. No, you gotta believe in yourself. Well, you know what? There's someone I'm gonna ask to see what he thinks. Nico, tell me here. Hi, how are you doing, by the way?
Oh, I'm doing great. Even better now that I'm on the screen with you both. And Chris, you could absolutely pull that off.
Thank you.
It's a nice full head right there, man.
That's a full head, dude.
You're making us all jealous here. You're making us all jealous.
I'm like, my hair is like, I'm holding on to my hair, but like it's just receding back, and I'm like,
well,
oh
but
God.
You guys don't have this gray streak in the middle of it.
Dude, gray is sexy, baby.
Come on. It's in.
Come on.
Very Richard Madden-esque, Rob Stark-esque. He had the streak.
Rob Stark, I love it. I love it. So,
hey, I think Anson Mount is the hair champion right now, but I'm also biased as a Star Trek fan. So.
All right. Listen, I just want to say for the record that your hair looks great, and I think you should totally do the Morrissey pompadour look. Because if I could be like you, I would do that in a heartbeat. So,
well, I appreciate that. I will take it under advisement. How about that?
Fair.
That's what I can.
Well, you could ask for it, really.
Yeah. No, he's on the money. So, anyway, thank you all for joining us. I really appreciate it. No binge next week, but if you haven't already, please subscribe today. It only makes spider sense. So thank you, Nico. Come on, this is old school. We only go old school up here. So go check it out. And if you're not familiar with what we're doing here, we did an episode you can find in the playlist section for the new 52 binge. And yes, I would say this is a great place to start if you are a new reader to comic books, of superhero comics, the DC comic books. We talked about this is a great episode we did last week when Papa Nick was here. He's not unfortunately not here today, but he'll be hopefully on the next time. But yeah, we've got this great episode here where you guys can listen to the introduction. And to me, this is the DC universe you want to know about because it is the first time you're going to see characters
Uh-oh.
And Mr. Herman, he's still there.
Paul, you're muted. Or your mic became disconnected somehow.
Weird. So
we're still here. There we go.
Okay, that's why. I hate
your quality took a nosedive, though.
Yeah, it's because it's such a sensitive mic that it yeah.
I think you're on headphone mics, though.
Yeah, we got it.
Okay, all right.
How
Well,
do I sound better now?
In the meantime, this is what I'm talking about. Look at that man's hair.
Yeah, that is great hair.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
That's all I'm saying.
So anyway, do I sound better now, Chris?
Not. You sound like you're talking on a rotary phone.
I don't know why it does that. It's so weird. Hold on, Chris. Go ahead and why don't you take the lead here? Can I get up to speed with what we're doing, and then I'll come back here in just a second. So go ahead and
Yeah.
take the lead here, my friend.
The issues that we're reading today are 14 through 26. So the first time we got together to talk about this, we read 1 through 13, and we had also just come off of the Infinite Crisis event. So 52 is really the aftermath of all of that. The first 13 issues really established who the main characters are that we're going to be spending a lot of time with. And it's a pretty big, it's like a series of ensembles. In one, we have The Question and Renee Montoya driving a kind of a grounded plot, but now it's a little more globetrotting, which we'll get into. We also have Black Adam and who has become ISIS. And Black Adam is a man who has gone through a significant amount of change. And that's really, it really gets pushed to another level in this set of issues, I think. It's a very unusual set of circumstances for Black Adam. We check in with Will Magnus and Dr. Tio Morrow, a group of mad scientists, and it gets particularly zany. Booster Gold is still a very important character here, and with Booster Gold, you also have Skeets. He's really kind of trying to pick up the slack in Metropolis, and there's a hero named Supernova, a masked hero that we don't really know much about at this stage of the story. In fact, there he is. He's in the Batcave in that one. And Booster really doesn't like him because it seems like he's kind of just swooping in and taking his limelight. Sort of ancillary to Booster and Supernova, you actually have investigative reporter Clark Kent, who is doing what he can to sort of support Booster's heroic career, but he's not doing a great job just because Booster's not letting him. We also have John Henry Irons, aka Steel, who is trying to navigate some strain that his relationship with his niece Natasha has gone through because she has gone full bore into Lex Luthor's new bespoke superhero program, and she's kind of the face of it. So those are really a lot of the core dynamics at play. And when we pick things up here, these 14 through 26 encompasses the second trade paperback volume. And it's really just diving more into the characters. Ralph Dibny is a big part of it as well. And we also get to see a little bit of the hand of fate start to intervene with him. So I'm going to be really interested to hear what you guys thought of this set of issues.
Nico, I'll throw it to you. But one of the things I wanted to, I don't know if I missed this, but I'll just start a little bit with Booster Gold before I go into my overall thoughts. Did I miss something? Because it felt like did I forget something that happened previously, or did I misread something before? Because when what's his little guy Max Skeets, Skeets, when Skeets is like talking to his ancestor and is like, and again we're gonna try to keep it as spoiler light as possible, but if you haven't already, go read these comics, man. Like, this is the best DC universe. This is the best DC education you're gonna get ever, in my opinion. So, but anyway, really quick before I throw it to you, Nico, did I miss something that because of all these things that with Rip Hunter, did I forget this that happened in the previous comic books? Am I wrong on this? Did I miss something?
I don't think you missed anything as much as it's just they hinted in the first set of issues that Rip Hunter is around and that there's something wrong with the flow of time because the historical records that Booster and Skeets were trying to operate from to basically prop up his heroism aren't conforming to things that actually happened, and you saw that in the very first issue where Superman is supposed to give this speech, but Superman's not around. He can't be around at that point. So something is amiss with time, and they tried to seek Rip Hunter out to figure it out. And we get to see a little bit more of some of Rip Hunter's theories about what's going on. But as usual, they're scattered as all hell, and no one can make heads or tails of them.
Okay, that makes more sense because it felt like I'm like, wait, I don't remember this. But now what you're explaining to me, that's probably one of the few, I'd say, downsides of the series. That got a little confusing, but it was easy. But at the same time, with Skeets, I felt like they did a good job of, even though as a layman like me reading these characters for a lot of times for the first time, it felt like it was still smooth enough where I could go along with what's going on. But anyway, I just want to throw it out there really quick. So Nico, I know your dad you both read this, I think, when it came out.
Just
But
my dad did.
okay, just your dad. Okay,
I tried, and I was so young at the time that when I got 4 issues in and I didn't see the Flash or Batman or anyone, I said, I don't like this. As a young me, I was just looking for the main heroes at this point in time. But it's why I'm so happy I'm reading it now. And I'm happy reading it too because I've built up a knowledge base, of course, over years of the DC universe. And reading it this way and getting to spend all these time with the characters, but even having fun with, like, I love at the end of every issue, there's an origin of someone, right?
Yeah.
Fun. It's fun to go see. It's fun to explore these characters way deeper than I would ever, right? Yes, I've read some stuff with the Question, and I know who he is, and I'm Just League Unlimited cartoon, and we have action figures and everything, but to read him in this context with Renee, the way that story's playing out is so interesting. God, the storytelling's so good here. And I think it's so good because we are with these characters. We are with these DC characters who are not the mainstream ones. And there's so much more relatability in all of them. There really is. You can find something in all these little storylines. And I think what I love the most about these, and I know we'll get into specifics, is how different. Like, I couldn't have predicted all these ensembles, like Chris was saying. Like, we got Ralph Dibny with Dr. Fate's helmet, and we have Animal Man, Adam Strange, Starfire. We got the Question in Montoya. We got Black Adam involved. We got a lot of Booster Gold. Then we got, characters who I didn't even know, like Super Chief and these other characters here that
Dude,
recruited into the new JL. So I'm just reading, and story aside, I'm just having so much fun with these characters. I'm just having so much fun reading. Like, Detective Chimp is in here. Like, there's so many. Like, I'm forgetting ones, right? And to see, like, the Teen Titans show up for a sec and see them interact, and all the stuff with Steel and Lex. Lex always being thing. I love this cover, by the way.
Nico,
yeah.
Just as a quick jump on to what you just said, do you ever feel overwhelmed reading this?
I thought I would, but no. I think there's a few times, but it just is, you're able to come down from it. Like when the issue where Lobo and the Pursuer attack, like Starfire, Animal Man, and there's that quick, large battle for a sec. I was like, what the hell? But then they bring Lobo into it, explain why he's there. He's guiding them. Like they do a good way of, whenever it gets a little big, they funnel it back, or they give you enough context to be like, okay, that literally was just this giant alien thing. It's Lobo who we're really supposed to focus on and move forward. So they do a nice job of helping you move forward. Because, yeah, there are little moments here and there, but overall, no, it's not overwhelming at all.
No, and I think, yeah, and to piggyback off what Nico said, I totally agree with that. There are definitely times, and for those who are like, should I read this? If you want to get more into DC comic books, that's not just Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman and Flash, or Green Lantern. I've said before in the last video, and we're probably going to say, I'm assuming for the next volumes we do, is that this is a great crash course in the history. And whenever you dive into like these to a universe or a fandom or some kind of franchise where you're not overly familiar with, and you dive into something, you're going to get overwhelmed at some point. It's inevitable. You have to accept that, right? But you bring up a great point, Nico, is that there are times when I'm like, okay, it's about to get out of hand, but it never does. It's about to. It like I said, the Lobo thing, and I'll fully admit, the Lobo line, and I think the Animal Man and Adam Strange is probably at this point my least favorite of all of them at least at this moment. I don't dislike it. It's just not one I really care about to read about the most. That being said, it does a pretty good job of telling you and learning so much about these different characters like Lobo and who they are, who Animal Man is, and again, Adam Strange, and who's, the pursuer and all that stuff. Like there's great moments of learning all these characters as you read it. And that's the thing about with mainstream comic books with DC and Marvel, is that where is that jumping on point where you can jump on and learn and not feel like you're over your head, or like you brought up a great point where you're like, you start to feel it, but it never gets too much because the story is so good. It overcomes that. And that's with the stuff with Lobo, not my favorite. It's still intriguing and interesting. So I totally agree with you on that completely.
And I think a lot of that comes down to the division of labor between the writers.
Yes.
And with Keith Giffen. I heard a quote from Keith Giffen from around this time where he said that Grant Morrison said it best. I feel like I'm part of a band because everybody is contributing, and it's all like, they all kind of served editorial roles as like co-showrunners, and each took segments and figured out how to plot it out, because it's not like every issue packs every single character into every single issue, right? It's just like they check in here and there, but if you are staying consistent and reading the story chronologically, 1 through 52, then you will get complete stories out of it. Absolutely.
Well, and there's a couple things I want to talk about that, because I think you brought up a great point. And again, I've barely made comic books. I mean, it's very clear, but I've made it no secret that I want to write comics and I want to promote people's comics, and I love the comic medium. Creating it, and we talked about music before, right before we got on the show. I couldn't agree more with what Keith Giffen said, and I only say that because of my experience with music and playing in a band. That's what creating comics is normally. But what they did, when you look at the aspect of, you have 4 blockbuster writers writing the story, with Keith Giffen, whatever his name, again, I always say Giffen. Keith Giffen is plotting out the story, from a picture standpoint, from the layouts. That is a whole different job of itself, but it's an assembly line aspect that is really interesting. I think that makes this 52 so much more unique than any other comic out there. And, I think that's where this, like you brought up a great point, Chris, about, because these writers are they're so unique and individualized, that when you get to kind of feel overwhelmed with one aspect, another writer's fresh take comes into it, which you could say is almost jarring, but because it's the way this is intended to be done, it works. Yeah. And to be honest, I said it before, and I'll say it again. I really think that the model of 52 should be analyzed more in how we make comics today, because there's something with this formula. I know it's small. It's smaller. No, it's, I know I almost said that. It is a smaller book, so it's a little bit different, that aspect, but because it's so planned out, and it's so not, it could say it's a detriment, but it's so, from a picture wise, so basic, that it really does, I think, benefit the story, that helps us understand when we're trying to process these new characters, when the layouts aren't crazy nuts and it's so specific way it tells you what's going on. It's easy to follow along and understand the dynamics and I think the personalities of the characters, because the panels are so basic and so just straightforward that you don't have to worry about where you're going. You already know where you're going because it's all laid out for you. And really quick, I'll just I'll say my little piece about this, but just a layout like this is a great example, right? This is a basic ass like layout, 4 panels, and then one forward panel. It's like 5 total, but you obviously know, maybe not obvious, but it's pretty clear, in my opinion. You go left to right, middle is obviously the end, or you can read the middle at any time because the way the story is written, right? And that's the beauty, I think, of these layouts that Keith does. These layouts are so basic. Like there's nothing funny about this. It's just 4 or 6 basic panels. 1, 2, 3. It's easy to read, but look how powerful this is.
Yeah.
This is a powerful page. And if you go even nitty gritty on this, look how basic this is. This is 2 basic square panels, but it's powerful, man. And that's the thing about comics. Sometimes less is more. And I think Keith really understood that, and the writer, and he took what the writers gave him and really emphasized what Pete, get out of here. I love you. But really emphasizes, I think, the power of comics that people forget, that this sometimes the simplistic storytelling can be extremely powerful. And this page is a great example of it. And to go back one more time before I throw it back to you guys, Chris, I know you already answered Lords and Hammers, which again, thank you for joining us again, sir. I'm gonna echo what Chris said. Yes, I think anyone, if you are watching the DC films and you're a fan of those films, of either Snyder Cut, Snyder fans, non-Snyder fans, I think 52 is 100% a great introduction to the universe of comic books, and I think of the characters in the comics, and really gets you up to speed of how a story is told, these characters, and the potential of these characters. So anyway, anyone want to comment on that?
Yeah, and I think it'll get you to, obviously, if you read comic books, any form, any title, any IP, whatever, you will appreciate storytelling. But I think it's easy to read comics from heroes and things you really like and just kind of enjoy them. This will really immerse you in DC, and it'll really make you appreciate the storytelling of it all. Because like Chris said, those big heroes aren't there. So you have no choice but to really be fully immersed in the story and not be turning pages and watching Batman do something cool or the Flash do something cool, right? You're really locked in with these characters, and if you're along for the ride, you will be rewarded. Because there's some damn great characters in this story.
Yeah, there is.
And I think the only other thing that I would add is just that, you know, our conversations related to 52 come at it from a little bit of a different perspective, just because we're coming off of a rather deep dive into the big event that immediately preceded 52. But if you did just decide to jump into the series itself, I think that there are enough context clues within the story as written and presented that you're not going to lose a lot of ground. Going back and reading that event will probably increase your appreciation of the way this story plays out, but I don't think it's a requirement. You'll just get a little bit more out of it if you sort of know what was going on immediately preceding it.
Really quick, I just want to say, Lords and Hammers, if you said sold, I just want to say, one of us. One of us. One of us. And listen, I always say that as a joke because I want everyone to read comics, whether it be freaking super independent, really crazy shit that I'll never read, or 52. I want people to read comics. And honestly, the fact that you're sold on reading comics, one of us. Exactly. So thank you. And I honestly think I'm about to upload where you want to start. And it's a great cover too, by the way. So anyway, we'll just kind of get into some of these characters. Let's talk about Lobo's introduction into this whole story, because he's always been a character that I've only known peripherally. I know that he's like supposed to be the 90s, the ultimate 90s character from DC Comics, and he really is. And I know Keith Giffen does a great job and has a renowned run on the character. He created the character. I'll throw it to you, Chris. How familiar were you with Lobo before this, and how did this inform you of him at all? Change your opinion of him? It's the same, different? What's your take?
My initial introduction to Lobo was, I think it was like I was 5, and Lobo had just heard the news about Superman dying at the hands of Doomsday, and had just like crushed some alien's head for daring to say that Superman could be killed. And I was just kind of like, as a young kid, I was like, I don't like this guy very much. I think I'm going to stay away from Lobo. It was actually probably the really solid episode he had in Superman the Animated Series that sort of convinced me that he was a fun character to examine. In that story, Superman and Lobo are collected by someone as the last examples of their respective races, and they both find themselves having to work together to get free. And that also provided an origin for the alien zoo that Superman maintains at the fortress. It was a really great episode. It was very tightly written. But the way that Lobo appeared in that story was just kind of endearing. And, in the DC universe proper, you don't see Lobo all that much, all things considered. But when he does show up, I mean, the force of his personality is nigh on impossible to ignore. And the role that he serves here, he's like forced himself into a fish out of water scenario. He has supposedly found a new purpose in his life that is leaving behind some of the violence that he has perpetrated in the past. But it's a contradiction because when he shows up, he just outright
He's the same character.
murders someone. So it's
Right.
like, how pacifist can he actually be? But he tries to restrain himself. And I think that one of the things that I like about it is that, you know, the interplay between Animal Man and Adam Strange in particular does a really good job of saying, this guy is fearsome. This guy is someone that we need to be really wary of and afraid of. But at the same time, you can't ignore that, at least at this point in the story, he's kind of their salvation. So it's a different way to use his skill set. And, you know, I'm not going to say where it ends up going, but it's definitely a memorable way to use this character in a way that you probably wouldn't expect him to be used.
Nico, what's your take on Lobo? Were you familiar with him before at all?
Yeah, so my dad had a lot of figures of him when I was younger. And
He's a big Lobo fan, huh?
I don't know. He's not that he really is a Lobo fan. I just think it was like you said in the 90s. I think there was so much of an explosion of him. But I remember him always being like, as a kid, he was gross to me. I'm like, I don't like this guy. Then when I actually started to read about him, I'm like, wait, actually, he's kind of badass. I do like his inclusion here because while my exposure to him was limited, his role in here is very different, right? He, like Chris said, he is almost their salvation. And it's the thing I like about it too, is there's good exposition in this run, meaning like, I forgot, he could regenerate from just his blood. And yes, I knew he was a murderer, but I forgot he completely wiped out his entire race. So they do a good job of dropping those dimes in, right? And having the characters react and talk about him. And because they're also using that to explain why he is the way he is now. And I really liked his inclusion because when I saw this cover, I'm like, okay, how's Lobo going to be included here?
Thanks, Andrew.
And then to have him quite literally be a source of help for them, a guide, I'm like, oh, it's different. So it was engaging. It was interesting. So I really like the inclusion. This is a great cover too.
It's a great cover.
But I really like his inclusion. And wow, I can't wait till Jason Momoa plays him.
Oh, wow. Well,
I hope they get across his love of space dolphins. That's all I'll say.
I just want to say for the record, I'm not a fan of Lobo's fine. I'm indifferent about Lobo. He's fine. This part of this 52 has not been my favorite, so I'm just gonna say that it's fine. I'm enjoying it. It's informative in some ways. But it's not my favorite aspect of this by any means. So I'm gonna skip over this now, and we're gonna talk about what I made the title card of, which is, I thought, a really interesting aspect, which was the quote unquote new Justice League that we got. And I don't know if this will be a spoiler or not for me or not, Chris, but is this team done in the 52 series?
Yeah.
That's a damn shame. That's a goddamn shame.
Yeah, they're in over their head.
Well, and I think that's, and that's the kind of thing I know is very much more of an or 80s kind of late 70s thing for Justice League. They had the obscure teams, without some of the big three or whatever. And I know that's kind of passe, especially now, but there was a time when Justice League didn't have it. It was like, even Avengers, all the super teams had like B teams essentially. And right. But to be honest, I kind of like the B teams.
Well, you know what? You bring up a good example too of like the B team. I'm always a sucker for the obscure characters when they get together. Like, I'll never forget it back in 2012 after the Avengers came out, and my dad gave me a whole bunch of Avengers stuff to read. I remember reading ones where like the team was like the Black Knight was leading the team.
Hell yeah, dude!
Like, what the hell?
Yeah!
It would be Black Knight, Hawkeye, Vision, Hercules,
Crystal from the Inhumans.
Yeah, like Quicksilver, and I'm
Chrissy.
like, what
Yep.
is this team?
You're like, who are these characters? You're like the best Avengers team of all
It
ever
was
assembled.
sick.
Okay,
It
Nico.
was sick though, yeah. So I like this too. I like, and just the fact that it's kind of Firestorm and the front is kind of cool.
Okay, I have no idea who the. And by the way, apologies that I did not intend to have a picture of right above the breast of the Bullet Lady. So apologies.
No one would have pointed it out until
I know until I said it. It was bothering me. It was bothering. I felt guilty. Okay.
Well, another thing that's kind of interesting about this. So this was published in October of 2006.
Yeah.
So this was like right when the 1 year later Justice League story started. So it was weird seeing how like the main team with the main characters of the DCU sort of came together after, going through what they went through in Infinite Crisis. And then in the midst of their first story back together, you have this come out and it's like, oh my God, the league has been through some stuff. I was rather shocked by this issue. The first time I read it, I don't know how you guys felt about it by the time you got to the end, but
well, yeah. In fact, I would say I don't know who. I wish I knew who wrote this part. It's not clear who writes what. Obviously, they all have a part to play in the storytelling of this whole series. But I really liked this stuff a lot, and it sounds like Nico, you're kind of with me too. That there's the one thing that this series really did a great job of was showing you that superheroing is hard, and it's not meant for everybody, and that it wasn't played for laughs completely. It was kind of both a little bit, and you're seeing that when you juxtapose. Oh my gosh. Help me out here, guys. I can't say the word. You
juxtapose.
Thank you. I cannot talk ever. I don't know why I'm even podcasting. When you juxtapose the that team with the Infinity Inc. team that they have going on here as well, it's a really interesting dynamic when you look and we kind of talk about both teams actually here a little bit. When you look at both these, you see the importance of teamwork and also like the personalities of the characters, right? And the true what drives these people. And that's important for being a superhero, I think, in general. And in the DC universe, you get to see that front and center with both Infinity Inc. and this new potential Justice League team. And I loved that they were both really quick. I'll throw it to you here in a second, Chris. I liked how they both were played a little bit for laughs at times, but really with this Justice League team, I thought it was really interesting because it showed you like how over their head they were and how like it was bad. And I'll be honest, I kind of wanted them to stick together and kind of learn for interesting characters. At least I thought.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think that the core theme here is that you have a lot of heroes that are, if they care about it, they're really struggling to find a sense of relevance and legitimacy, because you certainly get that from the members of the Everyman Project. Luthor can pump all of the resources that he has into it, and he can give it a sense of legitimacy, at least from the public's perception. Then you have Firestorm trying to put this Justice League together because he wants to pick up the slack that has been created by the absence of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. But you also have the Teen Titans struggling for a sense of legitimacy, with Connor being gone, with Robin being gone, and now you have Gar Logan picking up the slack on trying to sort of push the Titans forward, and he struggles in this particular issue with the idea of actually being seen as the Teen Titans. Even though he and Raven are a part of the team, the Infinity Inc. doesn't see, except for one member, does not see them as really legitimate extensions of the Teen Titans. The Teen Titans isn't seen as a force because Robin's not there, Superboy's not there, Wonder Girl is off doing her own thing, and we sort of get a hint about what she's up to over the course of these issues. But I actually found it really cool that, normally the wisecracker of the Teen Titans and Beast Boy, is the one who takes the mantle of the Teen Titans the most seriously, and the one who takes like the idea of legacy the most seriously. And you have a lot of these other heroes. I mean, I think the Justice League and Firestorm in particular certainly had good intentions, better intentions than a lot of members of Infinity Inc. do. But that was not backed up by, granted, you know, what happened to them was pretty unexpected, I think is kind of safe to say. But you have all of these heroes who are trying to figure out what it means to be a superhero in the DC universe in a post Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman world, at least they think. And it's a pretty striking dynamic to have for all of these characters because they all have wildly different perspectives on what constitutes a hero.
Yeah.
Let me also add real fast because I completely agree with everything that Chris said. And I love it. For me, and I love that you brought up the point about Gar, is I love when characters are allowed to progress or change in comics. So you're right. To see Beast Boy take on this mantle is so different, and so vastly different from other things I've read with him. It's why I always gravitate towards stories where there is a massive shift or a character does feel different. Not in a bad way. Yes, there's been stories I read where I'm like, I can't believe the writers are having to do this, but like this one where you see a change with meaning. But I just also wanted to add this, now that I think of it, now I'm really seeing these because I'm reading these all on the DC app. This might be the greatest run of covers I've ever seen.
Dude, word.
This might be the greatest run of covers I've ever seen. Like the one with Firestorm, the one with Lobo, this one, it's like an old horror movie. The kids on Halloween and the costumes. Like these are got the one with the flowers and Renee with the gun. And when you read what happens in that issue, man, they don't make covers like this anymore. They're so good. They're
J.G. Jones, man, the consistency.
It's 26 covers now that are all electric to me. They're all fantastic.
And not only are they electric, but they tell you what's happening in the comic book without spoiling anything. And it's not just a goddamn stupid superhero pose, superhero pose. And the thing is, look at this is a great example, right? Okay, here's this, it's kind of like a superhero pose, but look, you got the poster behind him and you have like the flowers. It's like, this is fucking art, man. Like this is beautiful.
And it happens in the book too.
It foreshadows the wedding. It foreshadows Renee's got to shoot someone.
What happened to these covers in modern day?
I don't know, but it aggravates me. It really aggravates me because they just don't. I know I wasn't old enough at this time, but man, they don't make. I think I could say this because I read comics now. They just don't make covers like this anymore. They just don't. They don't, and it's a damn shame because like this tells a story, like you said, and it literally tells you everything that happens in the issue without spoiling. That when you close the book, you go back to the front and you go, "Whoa, I see it. It's there."
Well, it tells, and this is the thing about, I think, the visual language that people who read comics sometimes, or not sometimes, a lot of times, and I'm not trying to act like I'm super smart than everyone else or by any means, but people overlook, I think, because it's easy to you take it for granted. I've said this before a bunch recently, but there's an art to the art. Yeah. And when it's like a game within the game. It's like if you're playing football, yeah, your job is to sack the quarterback, but it's the art within the game of like how does someone like set up to get the sack, right? It's like that whole there's a whole sub inside the whole idea of the inside baseball term, right? The thing with this cover and with comics in general is that this comic book, like this, tells its own story without you get the full details in the comic, but this tells a story right here. You know exactly what's going on. They're looking at this, and sometimes a pose is cool, like, right? Like, I'm not saying it's not, but like this tells its own story. Like, like there's an absence behind it that's lingering on in the series, and Lobo coming in is kind of like trying to, again, represents that what's going on and how are we going to push forward. And what does he do? He's pushing the narrative forward with these characters. And so, like, again, it's a little, you have to think a little bit deeper sometimes, and maybe I'm projecting, but it feels like in these covers specifically, they do a great job of, again, telling that story within a story and telling you why you should be reading this goddamn book.
Yeah.
And we just don't get that in modern comics anymore. And
look at this one.
This one is nuts.
I love this one.
This one is so good.
Like, normally, if it's text heavy, it's kind of a turnoff, but it works here because of exactly what it's trying to evoke, you know? And we've read up to this point with, you know, the new Black Adam Marvel family and with the stuff going on with the mad scientists. And it all just kind of comes together into this crazy mosaic that seems like maybe like it seems like it could clash very easily, but it's just beautiful. J.G. Jones is a guy who I've always found his pencils impeccable. These covers in particular stand out, I think, largely because they are finished with paint. You know, like they're painted at the end. That doesn't take away from just the strength of his line. You know, he did the first 3 issues of Final Crisis, but then ran into some scheduling problems and was supplemented by some other artists. But he did that original graphic novel Wonder Woman: The Hikatea that Greg Rucka wrote. That is one of my favorites. And, you know, the cover, it's a really great painted cover again of Batman's head with Wonder Woman's heel on it. You know, it's just like a really striking image, and you're like, what the hell is going on? And the consistency of the cover, the interiors are strong as well, but you can tell that, you know, they had to move things along. That doesn't take away from the strength of the interiors, and I think a lot of that is because Giffen was the one who was primarily in charge of the layouts. There is a degree of artistic consistency, even if the artists themselves are different each time. But with the covers, man, like everything was just so on point with the visual presentation of this series from beginning to end.
Well said. Man, this rocks.
Yeah, it's very solid. Well, you know,
I totally agree to that. And yeah. And so sorry.
Might have some Wi-Fi trouble. I was just going to say that it would probably be a good idea if we move to one of the other ensembles. And I think the one that I would like to touch on the most is, to me, the best one, and that's Black Adam.
Yeah, I want to tell you something funny that I said last. I mean, I probably don't even need to bring. I shouldn't even bring this up again, but like.
No, you got to do it now.
This Black Adam stuff is so good. It has made me look back at the film. With every issue I've read of this, I look back at the film and get more and more angry.
It's just like a huge missed opportunity.
Because this story, they could have done just this with the brother and everything, and it would have been very powerful. You think about his son and then giving it to her brother. I can't. Anyway, go ahead. It was brilliant. Sorry.
Look, I mean, this story is probably why I was excited about the movie in the first place.
Sure.
Because it was clear to me through reading because I read this before I read his inclusion in JSA.
Okay.
And it was clear to me from this that this is a character who can absolutely support his own movie if they pay attention to a lot of the complexity that he exudes over the course of just 52. Like, that's a strong character journey, and we haven't even seen all of it yet. Like, I'm going to be really interested to see what you guys think about how things ultimately land. But just in the middle of this, his desire to create a family, and the fact that he sees what Billy Batson has done as something worthy of being emulated. Like, to me, that's fascinating, just because it's not like Adam and Billy have had a great relationship. But in this story, like right before the wedding, they seem to have just like a really keen understanding between each
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
that still seems, it sort of seems out of place, but in a way that I like. It's
Yeah.
not like this shouldn't happen. It's just like,
No,
wow, who knows each other better than these guys do? And the fact that Billy is actively participating and kind of giving his blessing to the marriage, and he's actually conducting the ceremony and everything. Obviously, there's some other crazy and terrible things going on the surface, but to me, this is one of the most beautiful parts of 52. And Paul, earlier you were talking about juxtaposition. Holy hell, is this a juxtaposition? The beauty of a new life together and a marriage and a love that is given additional legitimacy by the magical authorities in the DC universe, while Renee Montoya has to make an impossible decision to keep people safe. I mean, this was a really powerful issue. And obviously the stuff with Montoya is really good, but the stuff with Adam, I mean, he wants to be a better man, but he also doesn't let that desire get in the way of his innate thirst for a very particular brand of justice.
Yeah.
And he's still figuring it out. And Isis has the patience to help him figure it out. And then we see the family get bigger, particularly at the end of this stretch of issues that we've read. Adam's arc here is my favorite part of 52. That's not taking away from the other things, because I think that especially as time goes on, there are other arcs that certainly get close to it. But at this point and where we are in reading the story, this is Adam's series to me.
Go ahead, Nico, if you want to add something to that.
No, I was just gonna say it's I agree with Chris. I touched on it a little bit when you were away for a sec, but what they do with this character is so compelling, and the relationship he has with Isis. And you're right, Chris, that desire to be better, but also that difficulty with compromising what he believes in to be better. And the way their story starts to cross and climaxes with Montoya and the question, it just goes together so well. And the payoff, kind of the sacrifice he makes for Isis's brother, it is to me the best stuff so far. And you even saying that you're interested to see what we feel by the time we get to the end makes me even more excited for it. Because to hear your praise for it now and your praise for this whole run as a whole, I'm really looking forward to it. And Paul, you were gone when I said this.
I hate it.
With every issue I read of this, I look back at that film and a rage grows inside.
Yeah.
A rage grows inside.
I was waiting for us to talk about this because
that I know because this could have been the movie.
And we're gonna wrap up here in a little bit, but we gotta talk about this and booster stuff, and then we'll head out. We talked about this, I think, last time too, and it seems like it's gonna be an echo, which I don't give a crap if we just say the same things all the time. I'm just gonna say what's up. You're absolutely right. And I actually enjoyed the movie. Okay. I thought, again, I always will say, I thought the first 10, 15 minutes was kind of rough. And then I thought it righted itself towards, middle of the end. I thought I liked a decent amount of that movie. It just started off kind of weird. To me, you're right. You're absolutely on the money. This story with him and Isis, it should have been the premise of the movie. Like, this should have been the movie. It should have been him.
She was in it, and so was her son. Her son wasn't her brother, but
enough said. No, but here's the thing, though. I think the problem is I already knew what they were trying. It's like they were setting up ISIS, a certain way. But no, it shouldn't have been like that. She shouldn't have been, a freedom fighter. It should have been her kind of like rejecting him. The movie should have been him taking over the country. And then, like we have in this comic book now, where it's him running the show, she comes in and says, "What's up? You're a big joke." And then he ends up falling in love with her. gives him his power, and I hadn't even read spoilers yet, guys. I already know where the story is headed, and but the thing is, it's all there, but it's almost like you had to put The Rock and Black Adam as the hero outright. Like, no, like he should have. The movie should have been him awakening and taking over the whole country in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you have, that movie him
That's
like
how long it would
executing
take
people.
him in real life to take over the country. Probably
You could have him take. No, you can compress that and probably have him take it over in 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Or I'd say
But it would
5
be
to 8
15
minutes.
in real time because
But sure.
he's Black Adam. Yeah,
But you see what I'm saying though? Like that movie could have been established, and then you could have had her be like, call him out, and then he falls in love with her. And throughout the movie, you have the JSA come in and be like, yo, dude, we can't have you do this. And then it's like, oh yeah, you can, and duke it out for like half a movie, and then it's him being like, the rest is history, right? I mean, you could.
I just want to jump in real fast and say that part of it
You're good.
too is that it seemed like there was a strange insistence to keep the real Marvel family out of it, and that was a mistake. And I think that
Absolutely.
is really emphasized in the wedding issue, right? Because you could have had an antagonistic relationship right from the outset between Billy Batson and Teth Adam. But if you do get on the other side of it, I mean, I like what this story hints at regarding their relationship, because it's just such a strong and consistent way to, like, between two people who have seen things together, obviously on opposite sides, but I like that there is sort of a settled conflict at that point, and what melts away from that rivalry at the end of the day, what is left is a kind of trust that they each have for the other.
Right.
And you don't get that potential by completely disallowing the use of Billy Batson and his family from intermingling with Adam. And, Adam was hinted at in the first Shazam movie. I thought that was setting up the idea that they were going to have some sort of meeting, but then, egos get involved and they want to try and take things in a whole different kind of conception as a vehicle for one personality. That's fine if it works, but it didn't.
Yeah.
So again, it's just
unfortunate.
Like, read more comics.
Yeah.
There you go. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I think that there is a compelling character here, and you see someone who's struggling to change. And that's what's really cool about Black Adam, is that he is struggling to change as a person in this series.
And he wants to,
but again, you have a part where, I mean, like, my favorite part of this volume, and this is Greg Rucka 100%. Like, I love Greg Rucka. He's such a great writer. It feels like he's almost underrated at this point. No one really talks about him as much. This page is chef's kiss. And again, I go back to the simplicity of, like, an artist who'd want to show off and be like, 6 panels with this, I'm gonna get kind of crazy. Keith Giffen's like, yo, bup, and it's goddamn dynamite. And it's just it's so simple, but it keeps that emotional beat of, like, you have a wide shot of, I'd say a medium shot, wide shot of basically Black Adam about to crush Matoya, and then it close up of 2 panels of, like, she's like, oh yeah, just do it, dude. Like, she wants him to do it, and he's like, shit. How
would that have played out if Isis wasn't there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is brilliant visual storytelling, and just storytelling in general with the writing. This is comics, baby. Beautiful. And this obviously, the best, in my opinion, is the Black Adam stuff is some of the best, with the Booster Gold stuff, which we'll get here in a second. This is 100% driving the story, but I love it. I love it. This is great. And they are doing, and obviously, maybe it's not Jeff Rucka. It seems like it's Rucka, but I could be wrong. Or it could be Jeff and Rucka together. Either way, this is fantastic storytelling. And I really want to tell people, Black Adam, say what you want about it. I like the movie all fine. I think it's not that bad. It's not that great, but it's not terrible. It's
not terrible.
most of the Adam stuff is probably John's, and then Montoya is Rucker.
Yeah, exactly. Either way, this is a great page, and this stuff has been my favorite. And it's funny because Montoya and The Question and Black Adam have been my favorites of the series. When it's kind of a bummer. It's like I like them together too, but I kind of like them separate because I love them separate too. I don't know, whatever. But I love this. This is fantastic storytelling. And any last words before we get to the booster stuff before we head out?
I do think. Oh, sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
I just can't wait for you guys to see what's next. That's all.
I do think I know a spoiler now that I think of it.
No spoilers,
I'm
sir.
really excited for it with a certain character, and it's something I really would wish to see on the screen. You'll know what I mean. I'll reveal what I just meant.
All right, on the next episode. Hopefully, Papa Nick will join us in this next episode.
He'll be back. He will be back.
Right. Tell him I miss him and I love him.
Of course.
With Papa Nick.
Before
we go to Booster, really quick, I just want to say quick little shout out to this little Easter egg here. If you guys know Magnus Robot Hunted, it's a play on. You're a G. That's all I'm going to say. If you know what that. Well, Nico, if you must know, Magnus Robot Fighter is a classic, this classic comic book character from like the Pulp Age or something. It's an old character. Valiant did it, and then Magnus Robot Hunted. It's
cool.
It's cool. It's cool. Mad props for this cover. So let's get to Booster. I'm just the whole Supernova thing. And by the way, I have no idea who Supernova is. I have no idea. So I'm excited to learn who it is.
I'm so excited.
Thank you. I'm glad I'm not alone. No, stop it. Stop.
Hold on. Chris, hold on. By Chris's reaction, it's not underwhelming. Like, there's no way we're underwhelmed, right?
I would be surprised if you were underwhelmed by it.
Okay.
I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it would surprise me.
This is me we're talking about. So this is for the record. So I love the Booster Gold and what we got in here with. You have Booster Gold trying to, he's just struggling, and how him and Supernova are going up against each other, and how he sacrifices himself. I laughed out loud when he took out the power of the whole place. That was really clever. I just really liked the Booster character. And really, and again, I don't want to spoil too much, but the reveal of what happens to him and how Skeets, his little robot friend, has to go. I don't know where this is going. Everyone talks about like Booster Gold being propped up by 52, and guys, I gotta tell you right now, I have no idea where this is going, and I'm excited. I'm excited.
I'm excited too because it's my second favorite, and I'll tell you why. He's a character who my dad does like Booster Gold, and everything I've read of Booster Gold, he's been entertaining, is what I'll say. This story, you really peel back the layers, and you see how he operates, and you really understand what he is. And the whole stuff with Skeets, and it's so interesting. It's a fun mystery. I also think too, I know it's, because people, a lot of the comic book stuff that's digested now, we always, go back to the big screen and the small screen. I think his show on HBO Max makes a lot of sense and can be really good.
100%.
When you get a good actor, you get a fun voice to play Skeets. I think you could have a nice comedy drama that has a lot of heart and empathy to it. Because that's kind of how I feel about this character. And I'm with you, Paul. I've heard so many people, including our friend Chris here, say that he's really lifted. He's really propelled by this story. So I'm excited. And I know stories as of recent, I won't name names, haven't handled him the best. So I'm excited to read a story where he
Don't talk shit about Tom King. That's all I gotta say. I'll defend.
I
Tom
didn't
King.
say me. Hold on. I didn't say me. I said his stories as of recent people have an opinion. I didn't necessarily say me.
Divisive, you might say.
If you would like my thoughts on that particular story,
I have not read it yet.
we'll do a binge.
Yeah, no, we will.
But I will say this about Tom King.
All I gotta say is I'm gonna peel back a little bit of a curtain for next month, guys, because next month, you know, we're gonna have, which obviously, Nico, you're invited on any show. You know this already, but like we'll be doing a flash show, and Javi's agreed pretty much to come on majority of the month because it's gonna be very flash centric. We'll just say that, right?
Yes, I would love to be on a flash show. That's all.
Okay, all right.
As you know, I have a tattoo on my body.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Right. So listen to this. Listen to this. Okay, you're gonna blow your mind here. Okay, guys. Guess I was talking. We were talking to Javi the other day on our Spidey Dude experience text group, and Javi just drops. We're talking stuff. He's like, yeah. I don't really like Flashpoint.
I was like, can I tell you why?
Yeah.
Him and I talk about the Flash weekly in DMs.
I love it.
We won't even touch this topic because I know he's not big on it, and I believe he knows it's one of my favorite comic books of all time.
Yeah,
I would like to be on that show. I just want to hear him out. I just want to hear him out because so much that like if anyone else came to me and said they're not big on Flashpoint, I would be mad. But with Javi, I'm like, I know he has a great reason. I know part of it. I just want to hear all of it. But to go back to Tom King for a sec, he had a couple, two of them are in my top of all time, but one of them, he had one story that is one of the best things I've ever read in my life.
No, and listen,
the moment in time I read it, it hit me so hard. You'll find out one day.
Yeah, and here's the thing though.
I gotta keep people coming back. Because they're like, well, I want to know one day he might say what that Tom King story is.
No, I love it. No, exactly. I love it. No, tease. No, here's the thing. I brought it up because you were like, you already insinuated you're not a huge fan of Heroes in Crisis or whatever. And I just thought about Javi, you know, the El Corazon himself, Pizza Time here does a great job. It's exactly what he said. Stupid Flashpoint. I went, whoa, what? I have not read Flashpoint. So the fact that Javi said that, I was like, whoa, I got to get Javi on this ASAP because, you know, it's Flashpoint's a Flash-centric DC, you know, thing that changed everything. So,
are we just doing the core series?
Of course. I don't have time to do a movie next week, dude. Come on, homie.
If we do one tie-in that's 3 issues long, it should be Batman.
Yeah.
All right.
Brian Azzarello, Eduardo Riso.
You read my mind. If there was a tie-in to do, it's the Batman.
That has ended up being an extremely important story to the DC universe.
Yes,
at large.
but the problem is we can't. I want it. That it deserves its own show. We'll do it the next month. How about that?
No. It has. We'll talk. This is something we should talk.
We'll talk.
About.
All right. Anyway,
let's talk about.
We're gonna
talk about
let's
Booster.
wrap up.
Let's go back to Booster because the thing that made me laugh out loud was this.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
funny. Yeah.
That's funny. It's sad, but it's also pretty funny.
Yeah. So, well, and listen, like the thing about this series and about Booster, I have no idea what they're gonna do. And I'll just say this, and I don't know what's gonna happen, right? But when this showed up here, where'd it go? Here's when this happened, I went, no way. They're gonna go here. You know what, Nico? We don't know what's happening, but you know what I'm saying? Like what with what he's doing here, like I'm like, are they setting up what I think they might be setting up? I don't know. Like I'm like, I'll just say this.
What do you think they're setting up exactly?
Is this guy gonna turn the new Booster Gold? That's what I thought. Like am I Nico, am I alone in this?
I thought about it for a split second. won't lie to you, I was on the same page as you.
Okay.
And then the way it plays out, I went, oh, I don't know where it's going, but I know from what I know of people saying this story propels Booster. I'm like, oh, there must be some different payoff.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know what
No,
I
I
mean?
agree.
Now,
Yeah.
what
No,
I
I
thought, because I'm with you, it kind of made sense. You're like, oh, wait, he's technically, okay, Booster's this person's descendant. Oh, it would make sense. Let's start
right.
now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
history isn't lining up because Booster Gold actually went
Time
through all
travels.
this. And it was like a reverse origin where now the ancestor becomes kind of the legacy version,
Yeah, dude.
which I thought was
See, you got.
interesting. Which
Yeah.
I thought was interesting. But then when he kind of got, when,
Yes.
as I like to say to avoid spoilers, when antics ensued.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. Okay.
When antics ensued, I go, okay, it's probably a different thing that happens.
Right.
But
Right.
I don't
Okay.
know. I see Chris being very, very. He touched the beautiful hair for a second.
He's like, let me
No,
talk. Let me
I
touch
don't
my
know what he
Morrissey.
did. He touched
here.
the hair and went, these guys have no clue.
Oh,
Yeah.
geez. It was
Anyway,
an
all right.
involuntary reaction.
All
No,
right. So, Chris, why don't you close it out here? We'll you say your last piece about Booster, and we'll head out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say too much. I guess what I will say is just that there's more to it. There is surprising invocation of DC continuity, but there's also just the path forward. I'll say right now it is absolutely obscured in the story. I'm not surprised you guys don't know where it's going. That is absolutely by design, and the way that his story in particular is structured. I'll be really interested to see what you guys think by the time we get on the other side of this. I'm not sure if it's going to become clearer in the next volume or in the final one, but either way, I mean, just pay close attention.
I'm excited. Listen, 52 has been such a joy to read, and I've just been marveled, no pun intended, with with everything, but like how well how well I'm invested in these characters and I know them very, very lightly, and especially I don't want to go on a deep tangent here if I can find it, but
Been telling you for 12 years.
you have been. Listen, I believed you. I just was lazy. I'll be honest. It's just I'm reality, man. I'm just lazy man. Where did I put the picture? I had a picture of something I wanted to show everybody, but I can't find it. That sucks. That's weird. I thought I literally pulled it out today and was like, I'm gonna put this. God, StreamYard's weird. I'm gonna pull it up anyway.
So,
No,
we don't
I
know
just,
what the deal is with this. It was just kind of like
awesome.
thrown out there.
Chris, do we find out who this is in the next set, or is it not till the very end?
I'm not totally sure.
Okay.
But
I want to know.
you'll know.
I know, me
it
too.
when you'll know it when you see it. Just do not search it out. Do not.
Oh no, I
deprive
won't.
yourself,
I'm not that
know?
way. I
Yeah.
promise I won't.
No, I know. I mean,
wait. I'm gonna truly wait.
it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
So as I'm reading this, you get great. Like I have no idea what the hell this thing is, but I love it.
Yeah, no way. This was sick. Whatever this is, I think it's amazing.
I know it's
I
like
have no idea, but I love.
It's literally an egg. I
It's
know it's an
literally
egg.
an egg. It's an angry egg.
I know it's like I know like Wizard Magazine or something like that like had a thing about how like 52 is making all these different like dumb characters from DC Comics like awesome, and like he's one of them. I know. So anyway, I just want to point that out. This ending was incredible. But anyway, yeah, if you haven't already, go read 52. It honestly it's a fantastic series. Start at issue 1 right here, and I'm telling you all, you guys can go pick up the trade paperbacks, the omnibuses, or if you want to get crazy digitally, go on DC Universe, go read it on DC Infinite, a pretty awesome service. I'll be honest. I think it's better than Marvel Unlimited, and I hate saying it, but it's true. It's great. You can go pick it up pretty cheaply on, Comixology, or you could be a G like Ryan Lauer taught me. Go sign up for your local Hoopla app.
Good. He got me on this too, but I've never told him. But yes,
the only thing I'll say, like, Hoopla is fantastic. I would probably recommend DCUI for 52 specifically because reading it issue by issue gives you those great 2-page origin.
I 100% agree. I don't have the trades don't either, to be honest.
Yeah,
trades don't either. And so,
and it's
but
like
you're right.
Each like predominant artist that is associated with that character does the 2 pages. Like when you get to Batman's origin, it's Andy Kubert. Green Lanterns is Ivan Reis. Nightwings is George Perez, which is probably my favorite one.
There's a cool selection of people who do them. All of them make sense too.
But if you haven't realized this, Hoopla should be available through your local library. It gives you literally free comics, people. And this was literally at my library, which is a small library. It's all out there. Like, hey, free comics, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this is goddamn genius. And I'm telling you all, if you don't have hardly any money and you can only read through your computer or through your app or for your phone or whatever, or your tablet, get Hoopla. It is free. It's amazing. You can get caught up with current comics. It has, I haven't gone through analyze the whole depths of it, but I'll tell you this. I find at least 80% of what I'm looking for. If I can't, because I have Marvel Unlimited and DCI. The thing is, they have most everything I need, but for independent stuff and stuff that's not available through those 2 apps, I've 80% of what I want is on here, and I've looked up a lot on Hoopla. So just throw it out there. It's an incredible service. Anyone want to add on that? Anything?
No.
Well said.
All right. So let's wrap it up here. Nico, where can people find your stuff at, my friend?
Yeah, you can follow me everywhere at Nico Caruso. Twitter's my main one. It has all the shows I do, but Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd, it's the same. I'm also at Nico Knows Film on TikTok. I do film reviews there, but go to my Twitter. You see all the shows I do, The Vigilante, Italian Spider-Man Coalition. I'm on here as much as I can be for this and Spidey Council. I love doing it. I love hanging out. Just come talk to me, DM me, and I look forward to talking to you, and I look forward to finding out who the hell Supernova is, because now I
know, me too.
Your beaver, man. Now I can't. I can't wait. I might have to keep reading after this.
Yeah, do it, dude.
Until my eyes bleed. Yeah.
Keep going. One thing I forgot to mention. It was in this volume that Lex Luthor went from a little bit more of a nuisance kind of to like real evil.
Oh, right? Yeah. Oh, as always.
Yeah.
I mean, it was probably inevitable, but the turn to me was so abrupt that it was like, wow, you really are a pernicious bastard, aren't you? Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love that he believes that Supernova is actually Superman. Like, we know
that's cool,
but
we know he's not.
Yeah,
we know he
can't be, right? So it's cool. I'm sorry. I just wanted to bring that up.
No, you're good. You're good. Chris, where can people find you at, sir?
On Twitter at Chris Clow, CHRISCLOW. I am actually working on a special project for Discovery Debrief, a Star Trek podcast, something that I'm going to be able to share more details about on May 22nd, which is 6 days from now. Gonna have a lot of fun. I think it's a cool opportunity for the show, and it's something I'm excited about. So stay tuned.
Hell yeah.
Excellent. All right. So really quick, if you guys didn't know, you can check me, Chris, and Nico, and Papa Nick, Mr. Baby here, also on our previous thing here, or previous the Countdown to Infinite Crisis, which is a great series we did together. And then we go straight into, obviously, to the New 52 binge that we're doing now. So if you want to check those out,
52,
definitely
just 52.
Well, whatever, 52, whatever. But yes, Papa Nick, Mr. Baby here, Nico, totally join us. Super fun. Yeah, go check us out there. Again, if you haven't already, if you're even watching this far, God bless you. You're amazing. But go subscribe today. It makes spider sense. So again, appreciate you all for coming on, all the people who've liked the videos and coming on. I really appreciate everyone out there. Super appreciate it. But Chris, why don't you take us out today, my friend?
Read more comics.